Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Man, what a dramatic about face 1 week can do. Overwhelming negativity around the entire organization. You go on the road, you get a win. Now you're going to face backup quarterbacks the next 3 weeks. And all of a sudden, the Saints' prospects look dramatically different. Mike Triplett's with us, neworleans.football. Mike, does that just about sum it up?
Except for the one thing that I have not seen from this team in 4 years is any sort of consistency or momentum. So, I don't think we were fooled by what we saw against New England, but it's a cautionary tale because it didn't carry over. I do think this was a good reminder of why we were optimistic about the Saints in the first place. They do have a lot of good players on their team. They do have good potential on their team. But proving they can string it together for a couple weeks in a row is something we really honestly haven't seen in years from this team. So at home against Chicago is almost scary. But if they could do this, and then like you said, the very next week, Minnesota, Kirk Cousins just got hurt. Maybe Justin Jefferson won't be back. If they go into the bye at 6-4, then they've really done an about face on this season.
They go on the bye at 6-4, and then you're heading to Atlanta, potentially facing Taylor Heineke instead of Desmond Ridder. What is Atlanta? I mean, it just looks dramatically different. But to your point, Mike, and you brought this up last week, the Saints shut out the Raiders last year, 24-0, and it felt like a moment where maybe they were turning themselves around at 3-5, and then they went and lost to Baltimore and Pittsburgh. So I was like, no, they're actually not that good. How much of what happened on Sunday do you think was the Saints finding themselves a little bit? How much of it was, I mean, it's a combination, but to what degree was the Colts just being a very bad defense?
Yeah, the Colts are not good.
Right.
But neither are most of the teams on their schedule. So the Saints should have been able to do that against Green Bay and Houston as well, and they didn't do it against those teams. They should have played better against Tampa Bay. I mean, the opponents aren't doing this to the Saints. It's what Saints team shows up. But the thing that I actually was most encouraged about last week was they fell right into that same old pattern of, we're going to blow this game. The penalties, the I can't remember, was it a turnover earlier in the game?
Derek Carr got hit and fumbled.
Yeah, the calamities that took place for them to go down 17-7. It looked like they can't get out of their own way. So for them to be able to lose 4 out of 5 games and then go on the road and kind of screw up and have their defense give up the long run to Jonathan Taylor and go down by 10 points, and to come back from that and look as good as they did, I think that actually is kind of promising that this team still has belief. And the things that they did are legitimate things. They weren't flukes. I mean, we're seeing plays from Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill and Rashid Shaheed and Olave and Thomas mixed in. That's why we thought this offense could be good. And I think the offensive line was actually probably their number one hurdle for the first 7 weeks of the season. And if the offensive line is getting back to average or slightly above average, then I think this can be real.
Mike, why is there reason to believe that the offensive line has gotten to average or slightly above average?
Because they should have been all along. There's some things about this team that we don't know. We don't know how good Pete Carmichael is. We don't know how good Derek Carr is. We don't know how good the defensive line is, especially when they play against really good rushing teams like they did last week. But the offensive line was not supposed to be this horrendous weakness like what we saw in the first month of the season. That felt like a fluke to me. This offensive line is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But this feels more like at least what I expected from them.
I want to look ahead, but one more quick glimpse back. The trade deadline came and went. The Saints didn't make any kind of move, although we did hear the report that they kicked the tires on Hunter Renfrow. What, if anything, should we make of the Saints standing pat, and if they were going to do anything, actually looking to add Renfrow?
Yeah, and I think Mickey Loomis said in an interview that all the conversations they had were addition conversations. I mean, I would have been shocked if they were sellers in any way. That's not their MO. It's not how they've approached this team any time in the recent past or this offseason. And, they went into the trade deadline tied for first in the division. So I would have been shocked to see them be sellers. But at the same time, if they were going to go make a splash move, that would have surprised me. Not surprised me, but I don't know that they should be making splash moves either to go all in on this season because they've got a future to worry about. They've got a lot of older players on this team. They need to restock the draft picks. So I think it was probably the right move to do neither one.
Excuse me, the cough. He's on Twitter at Mike Triplett, neworleans.football. Our chats every week are brought to you by Benny's Car Wash, bennyscarwash.com. All right, so Mike, as we look ahead to this weekend, I've referenced your tweet from Sunday many times this week, the statistic that you shared about Taysom Hill. The Saints are 17-1 when Taysom Hill carries the ball at least 7 times.
Yeah.
It is stunning to me that the Saints don't take heed. Is there any reason to believe that they will be consistent with Taysom Hill moving forward?
Well, first of all, I always qualify that stat that I dug it up last year before they went into Cleveland and talked about how that should have been a Taysom Hill game. And even that one wasn't as much of a Taysom Hill game as I thought it would be when they played in that frigid weather conditions. But I do always qualify the stat. There's also the one people love to say when teams run the ball 30 times, they win X amount of times. There's a chicken versus the egg quality to that stat. I mean, a lot of times Taysom Hill reaches 7 to 10 carries when they're protecting a lead or running the 4-minute offense at the end of the game and running out the clock. So it's not like if you give them the ball 5 times in the first quarter, you're guaranteed to win. But they absolutely should use him more in the run game because he's an incredibly effective part of the run game. They should use him more in the red zone, which was really encouraging to see that they did that. I hope that sticks. I frankly think anytime it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, inside the 5-yard line trying to score a touchdown, he should at least be on the field as something the other team has to worry about. I've never seen, yes, of course there are plays here and there where he gains 0 or 1, and then the tweets come out, why are they still doing this Taysom Hill thing? But that is true of any running back ever. That's true of Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, Deuce McAllister. They sometimes get 0 and 1.
Okay. I would love to see the statistic put to the test this week and every week heretofore. Like, keep giving him the ball. All right, so defensively, that certainly hasn't been the Saints' problem this year. But it is interesting to me, Mike, that the Saints allowed Gardner Minshew and the Colts to put up 27 points, and nobody's really batted an eye at that. And that coming off.
Well, I wouldn't say nobody, and I'd say most importantly, Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen came out Monday, and he was hard on himself. I think it was in his opening statement when he met with the media Monday. He said, "We just got done watching the film, liked some things." And he said, "We've got to stop with these slow starts on defense, and that's on me. I got to do a better job. It's 3 weeks in a row. I got to prepare these guys better for what they're going to see from the first 15 play script." So he's taking that seriously as as a guy. They finally got the offense solved, but that's his department, and he's concerned with that's 3 straight slow starts in a row for the defense. That's how they looked at the beginning of the Houston game, Jacksonville to a certain extent, and definitely the Indianapolis game. Now it's great that they can settle in, and their second half defense has been outstanding all year long, but yeah, there's a lot of games where they're not going to be able to afford to spot the other team 17 points like they did. That's definitely a concern.
I think it would be, you tell me if you disagree, I think it would be concerning if you allow Chicago to score 17 points in this game on Sunday. Right? I mean, is that, I'm actually not being facetious. I don't know how Tyson Bagent and the Bears, with that offensive line, come into New Orleans and generate any type of offense.
Yeah, Justin Fields would have been extremely scary. So would have Anthony Richardson if they had faced him, because I think that's been the biggest flaw of Dennis Allen's defense over the last 5 years, is how they can't stop mobile quarterbacks from hurting them. And so they're very lucky to avoid Anthony Richardson and Justin Fields 2 weeks in a row. But you're right. I mean, this Bears team feels very similar to what they did at the beginning of the season when they faced Tennessee and Carolina, and it's like, hey, put this game in the quarterback's hands. Stop the run and tell the quarterback, if you're going to beat us, it's got to be you making plays. And I like the Saints' chances if they're able to do that.
They've got a history, of course, with DJ Moore, who was in Carolina. And any tidbits or nuggets there when you think about the possibility of DJ Moore maybe being a problem?
He doesn't have. I don't remember a lot of games where he went off against his team. What's interesting, this is what I wrote about earlier this week. The Saints have they've pretty much gone away from Marshawn Lattimore shadowing guys. He still shadowed Mike Evans, although Paulson Adebo was out with a hamstring injury that week. I think he'll still shadow Mike Evans. I think that's in his contract that he gets to shadow Mike Evans.
Right.
But they feel really confident going right side, left side. And Paulson Adebo's been holding his own doing that. They held Calvin Ridley to one catch for 5 yards 2 weeks ago. Michael Pittman, Adebo was in single coverage on Michael Pittman deep down the field. That's Indianapolis' best receiver when he got that interception. I think there's a tough. If this was a fantasy show, I'd say I don't like DJ Moore against Saints cornerbacks. They've been great against number one receivers. When I think teams like to attack the slot and keep testing Alontae Taylor, who's had some highs and lows, but number one receivers on the outside are not having much success against the Saints this year.
Mike Triplett on Twitter at Mike Triplett, neworleans.football. Segment brought to you by Benny's Car Wash, where you can wash free for the rest of the year if you buy Benny's Car Wash membership club right now, bennyscarwash.com. Before you go, Mike, I know we talked a little bit there about what defensively the Saints should do, stop the run, make Tyson Bagent beat you. What about offensively? What's an expectation for this team on Sunday?
The Bears are another team that plays cover two, and cover two defenses have frustrated Derek Carr this year by saying, the one thing we're going to take away from you is free deep passes to Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, and then every once in a while, if Derek Carr gets tired of throwing to Alvin Kamara 12 times a game, he'll try to force it down the field to those guys. But the Saints have so many good underneath options. Throw it to Alvin Kamara, throw it to Michael Thomas. Jawan Johnson is back now. Run the ball if the offensive line can help you run the ball. That hopefully they can make the Bears pay if they decide to just sit back and play over the top.
Mike Triplett, neworleans.football. Make sure you read his stuff there. Follow him on Twitter at Mike Triplett. Brought to you by Benny's Car Wash, and he's good to be with us here every Thursday. We always appreciate it, Mike. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.